So I've been talking to our team who handles our YouTube and our podcast and our social media, and they've been sharing some feedback with me from people who watch our videos, for example. And we've decided that there are basically two camps of people who are watching, two types of nomad capitalists, as it were. And so today I want to talk about this because I believe it's important for you to know which camp you're in, and that knowing which camp you're in will make a dramatic difference in helping you guide your decisions. So that's exactly what I'm going to walk you through today. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson. I'm the author of the book Nomad Capitalist and the founder of the company Nomad Capitalist, where we help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally go where you're treated best. You can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. So today I want to talk about the two camps of people who I see who watch our audience. Now let me say, I'm not here to judge anyone. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but I want to make some commentary on what I see as someone who's successfully been living the nomad capitalist lifestyle for a long time, someone who's become extremely diversified with money all over the place in investments, in bank accounts, in pretty much every asset class you can imagine, someone who spends the entirety of his time outside of his birth country, travels on multiple passports, and has just done this stuff. Now, that does not have to be the goal for everybody. We are, after all, a channel for successful people who want to go where they're treated best, who think that there are better opportunities out there. And what that means is that if you've watched, for example, our Nomad Dad series, my family, we've had conversations over the last quarter century about how the world would change, become less friendly to people like myself and perhaps to you, people who are successful, who want to be entrepreneurs, who want to generate wealth, who want to create value. Those people are increasingly the enemy in the Western world. And what I've said for all the years we've been here at Nomad Capitalist is simply go where you're treated best. Now, what I see is two camps. People who like that approach and are agnostic to what's happening where they're from and just want to go where they're treated best. That's the second camp. But the first camp are people who they like the idea, they like the romance of it, but they're very much married to their country. And you can tell with basic psychological analysis that you could tell someone's level of commitment to something else, where people don't want to let go of what they have. And so what I'll see in comments, for example, that the team has shared with me, is people get really excited about Joe Biden. Now, I'm certainly not a big fan of Joe Biden. If I lived in the United States, if I was a U.S. citizen, I wouldn't vote for Joe Biden. I don't know that I would vote for anyone running. I think that they're all terrible. But when people go on and say, China, Joe Biden, and he's turning our country over to China, here's my thought. The U.S. has certainly done some good things in its history. It's done a lot of bad things in its history. Am I a big fan of China? No. But this idea that we're going to, Joe Biden is single-handedly changing this, I'm not going to comment on whether it's right or wrong or not, but it seems to me that there's a little bit too much, thought of, is our country given away to China? Quite frankly, you can look at all the countries who have a good impact and a bad impact. This is not to say, again, the U.S. is bad, China is good. I'm not saying any of those things. But what I am saying is if you're so attached to what one politician is doing, you're probably too attached to the country. I look at myself, and I divorced myself a long time ago from what's happening in the United States. I simply don't care. Now, there was a time, a long time ago, when I would actually just get angry, and I'm like, California wine, get it out of my house. I don't want that. I still don't drink very many California wines because there's a lot of great wines in all the places that I go. But, I would drink a California wine if you brought it to my house because I'm not angry at the U.S. I'm not rooting for its demise. But I also realize it's probably going to become less and less relevant. It's probably going to become a worse and worse place to invest. It's a worse and worse place to live, worse and worse place to be a citizen of, whether I like that or not. And so what I see people talking about is, hey, we still have to fight for the country. We still need to vote for people. That's not really something that has a place in the nomad capitalist, lifestyle. And I'm happy to have those people, and I'm happy to have the comments, and I'm happy to have all the conversation about it. But my perspective is, if you are still defending the country, if you're still saying we have to fight to keep these people out, or this power out, or this influence out, very rarely do I see people being very honest about the fact that they wouldn't mind this power interfering, but they're against this one. And certainly there's been a lot of discussion in that in the U.S. in recent years. But what I think is you just need to give up on what's happening in your home country and find the place that's going to treat you better. A lot of people who don't want to make the move say, well, if the U.S. crumbles, then everywhere else is going to become a hellhole. I really don't believe that. Does the U.S. have an oversized influence more than a Montenegro or a Guatemala or a Cambodia would in the world? Absolutely. Is that influence shrinking? Yeah, absolutely. And it's been shrinking for most of my life, and it will continue to shrink. Is it ever going to shrink to the size of a Montenegro? No. Is the U.S. ever going to become a total third world hellhole? No. Now, there are certainly elements of the U.S. right now with healthcare and safety and food safety and all kinds of things that, quite frankly, do score lower than many third world so-called countries. But there's still a certain quality of life. Things are just getting dramatically worse. And so, if you are trying to change that, I'm not angry at you. But that's not what we're talking about. If you are still trying to vote, and if you think we need to get our people back in power, too many people who are watching are saying, as soon as Biden gets out, things will get better. Is Biden going to raise your taxes? Absolutely he is. Is that going to affect you even if you become an expat and you live overseas? Yes. You've got Puerto Rico. You can still dramatically lower your taxes living in another country. There are still ways for Americans to lower their taxes. But yes, taxes are going to go up for Americans under Biden. Not disputing that. Is the world going to come to an end? No. And what I see is, people still fighting for the soul of the country. I say, who cares? The idea that, one country that is already losing relevance, that already, as we've talked about, doesn't even stand for the things that you think it stands for. We have the Constitution here. And then we point to all the different examples of how the government ignores its own Constitution. In many different cases, whether it's seizing private assets, whether it's putting restrictions on its people, all kinds of things that the U.S. does. It is not following its Constitution. It's following it when it's convenient. And politicians are playing the citizens in terms of how we're going to be constitutionalists, and then they turn around and do stuff that goes exactly against it. It's all a political game. And so for me, the second camp is where I want to be, which is the people who say, I'm agnostic, and I don't think I can change anything. Even if China Joe is taken over, what am I as one person going to do to stop that? Even if we could agree that the U.S. going in a certain direction is going to mean doom and gloom for the rest of the world, okay, what are you going to do to stop it? And so the second camp, I believe, realizes that. And they say, all right, let's say the worst thing happens. How would I invest my money? How would I diversify myself? Which passports would I have? Where would I live? Where would I own real estate? What we've talked about before, when people talk about the collapse of the world or the global reset, certainly there may be some points to keep in mind. But the biggest thing for the second camp of people, what I would call the nomad capitalists in the image that I viewed it, was they are not going to be victims. They are not going to sit and mask their fear, mask their anger as taking action. I understand anger, and I've been there, and I understand what it's like. And so I have sympathy and empathy for people who are angry at the way things are happening in their country, perhaps the way they're treated, whether it's by their government, whether it's socially in their country. I've talked about things that may be very uncomfortable in the U.S., but here's the difference. I didn't sit around and just continue to be angry. I've talked to the guys who go and say, you can't find any good women anywhere. Okay, maybe where you are it's more difficult. Maybe it's just not a good fit. Maybe you don't belong in your country. The idea that we were all born in exactly the country where we belonged does seem a little bit silly to me. 8 billion people were all born in exactly the right place where they fit in. It's ridiculous, right? There's people 100 years ago who would have been a much better fit, today. But, to me, what action are you taking? That is the second camp. That is the true nomad capitalist. Is how am I going to fix this? You're not going to fix it by one vote out of 300 million. You're not going to fix it by one person getting angry and posting comments on social media. I'm not here to comment about who stole the election or did. I don't know. And again, I'm agnostic. I don't care. Because I know that I'll be successful either way, detaching myself from politicians, detaching myself from politics. And I think if you do that, that's really the fundamentals of what a successful nomad capitalist does. If you are still using the fear and the anger to say, all right, I'm going to flirt with the nomad capitalist lifestyle. Listen, I'm happy to have you. I'm happy to have you, open a bank account or move some kind of asset offshore or buy a property or get a second passport. And you know what? This is not a judgment. I think that's great that you do that. And if you want to stay in your home country, there's plenty of people who are in this second camp who say, I don't want to leave the U.S. I don't want to leave my country, wherever that is. I still love my country. I think that's great. So don't take this as you have to do exactly what I've been doing. But I do think that if you're staying in a place because it's uncomfortable to leave and you are making excuses basically, and you're using the fear and the anger to basically go out and create this romantic scenario for yourself where you're not actually going to do the stuff we're talking about, but you're just using it as an outlet to vent, that's not going to make you successful. I'm sure a number of people will misconstrue this as saying you have to go out and renounce your... I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying the fear and the anger have to go away, and I think for a lot of people, the fear and the anger, what's generating those things, it's not going to change. I'm a big believer in momentum in a business and in life. Momentum is what matters. And the momentum of the United States, which is a big, hard to move object. This is not a place that turns on a dime, the United States, which is always why I like smaller countries. They're more agile. But the United States, the Western world in general, it is on a downward momentum trend. And it's a big behemoth. It's not going to quickly turn around. The people of your country don't want it to turn around. They like the way, by and large, it's going, which is why increasingly your vote, your one vote, will not matter. It'll matter as one vote, but the people are trending against you. The trend is higher taxes, more regulations, more restrictions, more take that guy's money because you didn't build that. That is where things are going. And so you can be angry and you can be miserable about that. You can be sad, or you can take action. That's what we're doing here. That's what I believe in. You can stop being a victim, stop being angry, stop posting comments about Joe Biden or this guy or that guy. I'm happy to have you, but I want everyone to win. I want you to come over and I want you to find a strategy that works for you. Those are the two camps. I hope to get everyone into the second camp. So people ask, Andrew, how do I get the most out of Nomad Capitalist? How do I begin my Nomad Capitalist journey? The first thing people do is they start right where you're at. They watch YouTube, they listen to podcasts, they read articles at nomadcapitalist.com. We've spent years creating thousands of pieces of free content so that you can get the vibe from someone who's actually done this, from someone who's actually been in your shoes. What they'll do next, they'll get a copy of the book. You can find it on Amazon. It costs a few bucks, and while it's not going to give you all the secrets, it's going to, again, give you more of the vibe. You're going to learn a lot of the things that I've learned. You're going to learn some strategies you can employ, and you're going to get a lot further in your journey. From there, if you are the 7 or 8 figure entrepreneur investor, you can go to nomadcapitalist.com. You can click Become a Client. We're pretty busy these days, but we have availability to help a limited number of people who want to create a holistic plan, something that I think is so important. So if you want to do that, go to nomadcapitalist.com, click Become a Client, learn more about how it works and how we can help you.